non-believing psychoanalyst. That means in psychoanalysis there is a good number of very interesting, very convincing ideas, but there is also any number of things that I have not survived the test of time. This is very clear nowadays. Yeah? It's very clear to be very outspoken on this issue. Yeah? I mean, there are few people in psychoanalysis, and there are a minority in psychoanalysis, that try hard to really bring together the clinical world in contact with empirical research to somehow move things on. And the psychoanalyst most representative for this movement is Peter Fonagy from London. And he once said, "We have been a minority, but now we are a significant minority." You see, this is like in any medical field, you don't expect normal practitioners to be researchers, but you hope that the practitioners are listening to researchers and somehow get next ideas how to move on. So that's what we are going to do doing today. Yeah? We will somehow try to talk about the topic of attachment. And I choose the larger is attachment. First part is attachment and development. So it's very theoretical, the first part. The second part will be about the implication of attachment and psychotherapy. And the third part in the afternoon will some clinical illustrations. I think so it's the easiest way to go. This issue, real trauma or fantasy trauma, in a way was the founding pillar for psychoanalysis, for the traditional conception. Away from real trauma to fantasized trauma. Absolutely, this is the founding. Now, if you look now around today, you find real trauma is back. Yeah? So in the historical view, it's very clear that for all more severe psychological disturbances, you have real trauma. So in a way, Freud is the great loser, I must say. You see? I mean, fantasy trauma was good for hysteria, most likely, yeah? So, but it really did not cover the more severe issue. Issue was about biology versus psychology. You might remember René Spitz, yeah? René Spitz, the first one to look at these babies. But René Spitz was not a problem in psychoanalysis because he was very clear saying, well, in the beginning it's biology, but after 3 months it's all psychology. You see, Spitz moved away from biology and pacified our thinking. Okay, after 3 months, yeah, 8 months of anxiety is clear psychology. So biology is out of work, it's all psychology. So Spitz never had a problem with the establishment. Whereas, yeah, the core idea of attachment is it's a lifelong biological system. You have to take this home. From the cradle to the grave is one of the famous statements, yeah, of attachment theory. Yeah? It's all your life. Even your last departure is still a separation issue. You see that? So, I mean, Freud would have said, your last departure is a castration issue. All we treat human as if they were animals. I mean, that's wonderful, isn't it? Yeah. It might, for the younger of you, might not be strange, but I mean, this was thinking, a very strong thinking before what? Before brain research, before neuroscience came into our field. I mean, this was around the 90s. 10 years ago. Before that, there was a strict yeah, barrier between animal world and human world. And this is the main message. I think this is the real, so to speak, when you think of large-scale changes in our understanding of mankind, really large, the big issues. Yeah? Yeah? Then are the big issues, what do you get the Nobel Prize for? I mean, in our field. Kandel, what did he get for the Nobel Prize? Kandel, you know this guy, no? Never heard? Okay. Yeah, so he got a prize. He was able to demonstrate that the old, 1,000-year-old distinction of nature and nurture, first nature, then nurture, no longer was valid. This is now not on the slide, it's just for. He had a species, a little animal. His pet animal was a snake with big nerve cells, very big nerve cells. So he was able to prepare a living system, sensory system and motor system, 100 cells only, in a little glass tube. Wonderful. And he demonstrated that experience changed genetic activity. This was radical new. You would not have expected in the 60s, 70s that experience changes genetic activity. Just non-believable. Yeah? So, but nowadays we are really moving on. We have now to go back a little bit. So Freud's position. Yeah, what were the theoretical obstacles? What was shaping Freud's thinking so strongly? Yeah? And he remained tied up to the 19th century, yeah, neuroscience in a way, to the 19th century biology. So there was a principle of constancy. Yeah? Freud did not invent it, it was around. Freud was a child of his scientific environments very strongly. So, yeah, this, what Freud adapted from Fechner remained a pillar in psychoanalytic theory. Yeah, so it was a basic principle from which he could, yeah, draw conclusions. That the sum of excitations, yeah, is going to zero. That's the inherent trend of an organism, to reduce excitation. Nirvana principle, you've all heard these beautiful words. I guess you can't not have any concrete idea because you never have been in the Nirvana, but still, you might dream of it. So, the nervous system, that's Freud 915, is an apparatus which has the function of getting rid of the stimuli which reach it, or of reducing them to the lowest possible level, or which, if it were feasible, would maintain itself in an altogether unstimulated condition. And this position was backed up by these beautiful descriptions of Freud's, yeah, about early life experience. It's only the reality that forces us to give up the pleasure principle. You remember, these are the statements that made Freud, that made psychoanalysis, yeah, immortal. Well, they have died. They are not so, but for 100 years, these were the very statements about psychoanalysis, yeah, pleasure principle and reality forces us, yeah, to give up the sheer seeking of pleasure. These are the axiomatic statements of psychoanalysis, because from them you get a lot of theoretical developments. So, these kind of statements. Yeah? Okay. Freud's drive, discharge model, and developmental psychobiology. That's now the move. Yeah? However, today's developmental psychobiologists take into account that the neurobiological determined complexity due to billions of neurons with thousands of interconnections leads to uncertainty and limitation in the ability to predict behavior. So that's a radically new conception, which the new neuroscientific understanding of the brain has generated. The brain is not a computer, by the way, not at all. It's totally misleading. A metaphor I was very fond of for many, many years, in the 80s, 90s, when I got my first Macintosh. Understood there's hardware and there's software. Yeah, for a simple mind, that was good enough for me. Totally wrong. Totally wrong. What's the difference? The difference is that in the brain, every transformation of information and incoming outcome changes the hardware. Yeah? So your software constantly changes your hardware. Brain, computer cannot do this. But every sentence, each sentence changes your brain. That's the position of today. Yeah? It's posed by Wolf Singer, the leading neuroscientist in Germany. Every sentence changes your brain, so be careful. Yeah? Sometimes you should close your ears. Yeah? You don't want your brain change. Yeah? So, this is so radically different from the Freudian conception you have to take this really, be careful when you talk and listen to whom you listen. Or for example, just to make very clear the basics, what is the problem with children looking at TV? It's not the context. More radical is the two-dimensionality. If children exposed to two-dimensional objects, simply their brain is also become two-dimensional. Yeah, it's flattened. The third dimension is missing. That's the problem. The real problem. That they see too many murders is also a problem. But the real problem is the very elemental input of two-dimensional information. That's an important question for yourself. When you think about what is the speed of psychological processes? When you smile, how long is a smile? How long is a moment? These are very important questions, basic questions. What about most of your facial expressions you do not know yourself? Only another person knows. And they are very short. So if you don't like someone and you smile, you don't know that you don't really smile. It's a very short moment, but they are very powerful. So the problem I want to convey here seems to be that this new development in baby research, in infant development, has demonstrated that the complexity of things that go on is incredible, much larger than anyone could have imagined before. And the complexity of information exchange is also much larger. Just to make one point, to see the clinical implication. Just the clinical implication of baby research for today. Why do many relational psychoanalysts say the couch is not helpful? I mean, you brought up, everybody says, oh, the couch, that's the paradise. You see, if you're on the couch, finally, that's where you want to be. The relational people say, no, it's totally wrong. Yeah? The couch deprives you of the face of the mother. Ooh. Suddenly you have a new debate in the problem. You have a real problem. Yeah? So, when is the couch a good thing and when is the couch a negative event? So, so, and this is clear that when you focus on the non-verbal interaction then you might take home from the experimental research, you take home that moments of greeting in the beginning, opening of the session can be very potent, although they are not represented in the clinical literature. If you look around in 100 years of psychoanalytic writings, how many papers are there about moments of greeting? Maybe one, maybe two, maybe two. How many papers are about moments saying goodbye? Maybe one, maybe two. You see, the concept of psychoanalysis is, so to speak, impacting on your phenomenology. If you don't talk about non-verbal interactions, you don't understand what's going on. Okay. And the basic new perspective in this book was that turning around, it's not the mother influencing the baby. That's the old view. The new view is the baby looking around and saying, what kind of person is the mother? And this now attachment research. The baby has a capacity to create its own object, the mother or the father. And this is a radically new perspective. René Spitz, the baby was a victim of the mother not being able to look around. Right? Very clear that the baby is completely dependent on the mother's capacity. Well, in 1981, I spent 4 weeks in a laboratory in the United States where they studied schizophrenic mothers with a second baby. Schizophrenic mothers. Yeah? What was impressive, the range, how fast the babies would deteriorate in their developmental track was incredibly large. Some babies made their way, whatever the mother did or not did. Some babies were so powerful, they achieved normal developmental steps in 1 year. And other babies after 4 weeks were just dead, psychological, gone. So it's a range, huge range of capacities that babies bring to the world to find out about mothers. And that's, that's the core idea of attachment. The core idea that babies find out. And babies have the competence to find out what to do and what not to do.